I'd love to get started, but I gotta talk to my spouse first. Oof, isn't that the worst objection there is? I gotta say, no matter what industry you're in, if you're selling something, that is the scariest objection you get. Ask any salesperson. So how do you handle that? We've got some strategies for you today that will help you and get you closer to running a profitable gym. Hey guys, I'm Jeff Burlingame, mentor for Two Brain Business, and here at Two Brain Business, we want to help you run a profitable gym. So if you're interested in that, you want more content that'll help you do it, consider subscribing to the channel. Smash a like on this video, ring that notification bell so you can see when we drop more content. Share this with your business owner friends because it'll help them too. Let's be abundant together. Now, let's get to this objection, shall we? I know this objection's scary. I know it feels like they just laid down, the full house, the royal flush. It's over. You're toast. The end. That's not true, okay? First of all, keep in mind, let's fix our mindset here. Two things. One, we've talked about this on many videos, so I won't beat it too much to death. If they leave, they're not coming back. Just remember that. If they leave, they're not coming back. Yes, sometimes they do. That's irrelevant because the amount of times that they come back is like 30% or less. And that's not enough to be reliable. That data is bad. So if it's 30% or less, it's basically zero. Assume they're not coming back. That will help you make more sales because you're going to try harder. This could be the last time you ever see this human being on this planet in this life, okay? Try harder, push harder. It's worth it. Trust me, I've made sales when, otherwise it would have never happened if I didn't try, just because I knew if they left, they weren't coming back. The next thing to keep in mind is that objections are not bad, and they're not inherently a no. They're really more of a delay, or really an excuse on the part of your potential client here, your prospect. They're trying to create space between you. They're trying to leave the conversation without spending any money, right? They have a fear of loss. Everybody has this. If they spend this money, will it be worth it? Will they get the value out of it? That's a scary thing for a consumer, so that's what's on their mind. If they say they need to talk to their spouse, decision maker, dog, friend, pen pal, mirror, whatever it is, all they're really saying is, I'm gonna blame somebody else for me not being able to buy this. Because here's the thing, I'm married. Maybe some of you guys are married. And if not, maybe you have boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, or somebody that's a part of some of the decisions that you make. This is reality, right? We are social creatures. We are in this world together, and we tend to have relationships. And some of those relationships require decision-making capabilities. Finances, for example, can be a pretty big crutch for a lot of relationships too. So it's reasonable to assume that this person has to talk to their significant other, spouse, etc. That said, in reality, they probably don't. In any relationship, there's going to be a number, a budgetary number, which again, we've discussed before, budgets aren't real, okay? So this invisible arbitrary number, right? And that number exists, and they know what that number is, by the way, which is an okay number to spend literally anything without any reason for it, or excuse, or permission. They can just do that, and they can ask for forgiveness later if they need to. You've done this. I've done this. People do this all the time. So if a person's sitting in front of you saying, man, I really can't spend this $150 a month unless I go talk to my spouse. What they're really saying is, I'm blaming my spouse. I will not be talking to her when I get home. Like, don't just take this fantasy out of your head. As I said, if they leave, they're not coming back. They're not gonna go home, pull up a whiteboard and say, honey, I gotta discuss this thing with you. Here's the pros and cons. I wanna join this gym. Pros, clean space, cool people. Cons, it's $150 a month. What do you think the spouse would even care about in that conversation anyways? They would say, it's $150, no way. That's it, end of conversation. You don't want the prospect to be the salesperson. This will not work. So here's the thing. If you get a spouse objection, you have to get them to make a decision today. That decision has got to be sign up, or at the very worst, talk to your spouse right now, or get your spouse in within the next 24 hours. Worst case scenario, okay? But it has to happen. Otherwise, you're not gonna make a sale and they're not gonna come back. And you guys have had this happen to you plenty of times. I know I have. So what do we say? If a person says, I need to talk to my spouse, and you follow our objection handling system, the very first thing you need to do, you would know, is acknowledge the objection and relate on some level if you can. So I'm married. So what I can say is, hey, I completely understand that. I'm married as well. Something like this, I'd probably run it by my wife. That's totally fine. Okay, so now they feel like they're off the hook. Their barriers are dropping. Their defenses are coming down. They're like, oh, cool, phew, I don't have to make a decision today. However, we're going to swing back with something else. So after you acknowledge the objection, you're going to ask a question. Your goal of this question is to uncover the real problem, okay? In this case, it's going to be, what the heck are they talking about with their spouse? So let's do that. Acknowledge. I hear what you're saying. I'm married too. It makes sense that you would go talk to her about this. If you don't mind me asking, what's the main thing that you guys need to talk about? So this will put them on the spot where they have to tell you what that conversation, the fictional conversation that will never occur, what it would be centering around. Most likely it's price, okay? So they come back, they say, it's just, I want to see if this fits into our budget. And again, they're still blaming this person. So how do you respond to that? The very next step of our objection handling process is you address the problem and ask more questions. So we say, oh, okay, so it's just the price that's preventing you from getting started today. Is that right? They say, yes. You've confirmed that's the problem now. Now we target that problem. Let's attack it. Let's do what we can. So at this point, I want to come back and I want to ask a few questions. Mr. Jones, if you don't mind me asking, before you came in here today, did you discuss this appointment with your wife at all? He'll say yes or no. You say, if he says yes, you say, great. Did you discuss the price or budget that you guys were setting for your health and wellness at all? Then he needs to say yes or no. At this point, if he says yes, you say, great. What was that budget? Because then we'll get a number and we're going to come back to it in a second. If they say no, they didn't discuss this appointment, then I like to crack a joke like, whoa, 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 you're here in secret? What are you hiding from? Right? Just kind of like, well, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. This has to match your personality, by the way, so just make sure that you feel comfortable doing something like that. If you don't, then if they say, no, I didn't discuss it, you say, okay, totally fine. Because we're going to come back to that budget here in a second, so that's fine. Now, if they said, yes, I discussed it, but no, I didn't discuss a budget, then we say, okay, no problem. And now we're coming back to the budget. So if they've said no, they haven't discussed this budget, whatever it is, then we need to find the budget. If they said yes, and here's the budget, then we have a number to work with. So this is like the step we're trying to get to. So if they said no, and we didn't discuss a budget, then we're gonna ask, okay, Mr. Jones, again, if you don't mind me asking, what is an amount of money, a budget, potentially, that you guys have set aside on a monthly basis to put towards your own health and wellness? That's what we got to ask. That question is phrased in a way that it would be guilt-ridden for them to say, we don't have one. We don't have a budget for our own health and wellness. Whoa, 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 you don't have a budget for your own well-being? Well, that's a problem we got to fix, Mr. Jones. Let's talk about that. Because again, you guys, with objection handling, we're not trying to handle the objection per se. We're trying to strategize with this person as a human being. How do we help them make this decision? How do we help them overcome excuses and roadblocks and work towards a better, healthier life that we know will put them in a better position? That's our goal. By talking that out, you're going to eventually come to a number. They're going to have to say something. They'll say, well, I guess it could be $100, right? Or in the previous example, if you went through that conversation, yes, I talked to my wife about coming in today and my budget is $100. Okay, now in either case, we've got to a number. Once you have that budget and we're close to it, because we are, in this example, we're using $150 membership, then we just have to figure out how to make up the $50. So here, first and foremost, go back to their why. Why are they here? What are the goals? And more importantly, why do those goals matter to them? So now we can go back and we say, Mr. Jones, I just want to circle back real quick for a second. Remember, you came in here today and you told me that you wanted to lose 20 pounds. More importantly, though, you said losing that 20 pounds is going to help you with your sleep, get you more energy, And that energy means you're going to have more time to play with your kids. That's important to you, right? Obviously, he's going to say yes. You say, great. Is that worth the extra $50? That is another guilty question. Mind you, this is just to help them overcome their own excuses. How bad do they want it? People value things differently. People value better cars, more expensive coffee, bigger TVs, which actually do nothing to bring them closer to happiness and well-being. And they'll spend thousands on them. You won't spend $150 a month on your own health and well-being? We have a value problem. There is an imbalance in the scales here. You need to help them overcome their objections. Stop assuming that people truly don't have the money. I promise you they do, and I promise you that they'd be willing to pay it if they valued what you're offering enough, and that's going to come down to if they value the transformation that they want. And everybody has a goal. I don't care if they're the top of the elite athlete, if they're Matt Frazier has a goal, and he also has a coach. So why wouldn't this person have a coach? And why wouldn't they have a goal? Oh, I just want to get in shape. Why? Why get in shape? Why not sit on the couch? What is this for you? What is this doing for you? How is it changing your life? This is why we got to get better at asking questions. I've said it before. If you do a really good job gathering that information, that discovery phase of goals and why, closing is going to be easier because you have great ammunition to apply to the end of the sale. So we first want to attack that why. Basically, do you value this enough to spend the extra $50 to get this membership to achieve these goals? Is it worth it to you? Yes or no? They're going to say most of the time yes. And if they say no, there's nothing you can do about that, but it doesn't mean the sale's over. Then we say, okay, why don't we do this? I can understand that this is important to you, but the budget is something you're not willing to move on. Okay. So essentially, Mr. Jones, if you had an extra $50 magically appear out of nowhere, would you do this program? Yes or no? Simple. Most people would say, yeah, if I had randomly $50 a month extra, I guess why not? You say, great. What if we could find that $50 within your normal budget already without restricting too much of, the things that bring you happiness? Would you be willing to take a look? He'll say yes. You say, great. And at this point, you pull out our C.R.A.F.T system. So this is just a simple acronym. C.R.A.F.T is caffeine, restaurants and entertainment, alcohol, fast food, because it's different to restaurants for most people, and tobacco, which I never actually really get to. You usually don't have to. It's very touchy, and it's a very touchy subject, so you don't really want to. So we go into this and we see caffeine. Put yourself in a position where you are equally guilty of consuming caffeine. So I'll say, Mr. Jones, if you don't mind me asking, what's your favorite caffeinated beverage? I know for me it's Starbucks, and I really like those Bang energy drinks. So then Mr. Jones is going to say I like Starbucks. You ask him, how often do you consume them? He says, twice a week. Great. What's your favorite drink there? Let him explain his drink. You explain your drink. Connect on that level. And then you add the numbers up. So you consume it twice a week. How much is that? $4. Okay. So it's $8 a week you're spending on coffee. 8 times 4 is 32. So now we know he's spending $32 a month on coffee. We need 50, so we're close. But we're not going to take all his coffee away. It's not the time to do that. We can do that later in a nutrition coaching program. But for now, we want to kind of slash it in half, cut it down, see what we can do with it. So we say, Mr. Jones, if you cut that to once a week, you'd be saving $16 a month, which we could put towards this program. Is that something you'd be willing to do in order to accomplish these goals? Remember to keep pointing back to goals. Is that something you'd be willing to do to get closer to losing 20 pounds? Seems worth it to me. Says yes. You say, great. Let's keep moving. What other caffeinated beverages do you drink? Do you have supplements that you take? You get to the restaurants. Do you like to go out with your family? Now, 2020 kind of universe we're living in right now, maybe that's not realistic, but takeout and delivery. So people are still buying these things in excess. You can also ask about buying things in excess. Do you spend a lot of money on Amazon? Products is not on the C.R.A.F.T system, only because it doesn't necessarily pertain to negative health impacts, and all of the C.R.A.F.T system stuff does. But you could hit products. You say hey, you find yourself spending a lot on Amazon lately? I'd save that for last, but it's another potential way to find 50 bucks, for example. So at the end of the day, you're writing this all out. You're taking it down on paper. You're adding the numbers up. As soon as you get to 50 bucks, you say, we did it. We found 50 bucks. Mr. Jones, are you ready to get started working towards these goals? Let's do it. And get them on board, get excited, get them, be enthusiastic, show interest in helping them succeed, and roll on. Let's get them signed up. So at the end of the day, guys, we don't have to be extremely direct. We don't have to be even very persuasive. We're definitely not tricking them. We're not being shady salespeople. We're just strategizing how to find that money. And if you can find it, you've basically given them the conversation to give to their spouse or significant other when they go home to keep them out of trouble. So they can go home and say like, hey honey, I signed up for this gym. It's 150 bucks a month. Here's the deal. I know we were okay with spending about 100 bucks a month on our health and wellness, but I saved this much money by cutting back. I'm going to cut back on my coffee. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And we'll have the money. So it's not actually taking more out of their budget. Make sense? So hopefully that was helpful for you guys. And I want you to try that the very next time you get a spouse objection. Number one, just remain calm. Don't freak out. It's okay. Objections are fine. They're actually kind of fun if you get into the challenge of selling. Again, if you're looking for more content like this and you want to run a profitable gym, consider subscribing to the Two Brain Business channel. Smash the like on this video, ring that notification bell so you can see when we drop more content, and we'll see you on the next video.